Welcome to the Friendzy.
Hi, I'm Melissa Carter.
And I'm Jenn Hobby.
And here's our promise to you. The Friendzy is here to change the conversation around age
so that you can celebrate all your years rather than lie about them.
Real stories connecting real women. I'm Melissa, and the reason I got into media was because of Jessica Savage. I don't know if you remember her. She was, I think, an NBC correspondent.
Oh, cool.
She died young in a tragic accident. So that's why so that's why her career didn't continue. So, but when I was in the 70s, she was a big deal. And she is the reason I'm in media.
That is so cool. I need to hear more about her. Okay. I'm Jenn Hobby, and I loved my first bike. It was strawberry shortcake themed.
Was it really? Had a basket.
If I close my eyes, I can still feel what the bike seat felt like.
Oh, did you have the tassels?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The pink and white flapping in the wind.
Yes. That's awesome. Coming up on today's episode, we are talking about girlfriends, otherwise known as the sisters you pick for yourselves.
And you'll also meet actor and comedian Melissa Peterman. She is hilarious and tells us about how she values her girlfriends like Reba McEntire, Valerie Bertinelli, and so many more. And Melissa Peterman stars in Young Sheldon on CBS. She's about to turn 50, so she is fired up to share some funny stories about coming to terms with her new number with you. You are going to love her.
But first, have you subscribed to the Friendzy podcast yet? Why? Please do. And leave us a review. If you subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts, you can always go to thefriendzy.com also to find out where we are.
Please do visit thefriendzy.com. And if you enjoyed this episode of The Friendzy, please share it with a friend. We would love for more women like you to find out about our show. Now, Melissa Carter, we are going to share some laughs with Melissa Peterman here in just a minute. But first, let's thank our sponsors.
Kick it. Pajamas.
Kick it. And then we're adding in your friends too.
LifelineScreening.com. Get your veins checked.
Live longer.
Don't have a stroke.
Celebrate more years. And hang out with your girlfriends.
Why we're not doing jingles for a living, I don't know.
We should be. Really, we should be. This should be a new stream of revenue. All right, Melissa Carter, we are going to talk about girlfriends and why they are so important in our lives here in just a second. But first, I have to thank you as my girlfriend, my sister I chose, because as we talk about on the Friendzy, this time of life means we're caring for young children and we're caring for aging parents.
Right.
And you gave me some solid gold advice for my mother-in-law, and we put it into practice. So
great.
Yes, my husband's mom is having her vision decline. So she has macular degeneration and her vision is declining. And Melissa's mom, Millie Pete, had the same thing. And you had some great ideas about resources, about a place here in our town where we live in Atlanta, actually Smyrna, where you can go and get some rehabilitation services and some help. And so I took your advice. We put it into action. We went last week for an appointment and they were fantastic with her.
Yay. I'm so glad.
Loved it. There were some really kind people there. The doctor, the staff there were just amazing and really empathetic to what she's been going through with losing her vision. So she still has great peripheral vision, but she's missing the details in the middle.
Yeah.
And she's having a hard time with things like reading or writing out her checkbook. That's very important to her. Balancing that checkbook has been hard. Just some different things, being able to see price tags in the store, things like that are difficult for her. And they helped out so much.
I mean, so glad. I have to give a warning to our listeners. If you have anybody in your life or it's you that has been diagnosed with macular degeneration, pay attention to it. Do not let that slide because it is much like emphysema which is you can maintain your current level, but you can never get it better. So I don't know. I had a grandfather that had emphysema. The problem with emphysema is it damages your lungs to the point that it can't recover. So you have to get on top of that. Same with macular degeneration. Like Jenn mentioned, it's one of the few vision impairments in which it starts at the front of your eye. Most other blindnesses and vision impairments start at the periphery. And so my mother got to the point where she couldn't recognize people's faces. She was at the point where she couldn't see her grandson. So, and it was frustrating, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the end. Like, that's just a new thing you have to adapt to. And there's plenty of services, and I'm so glad that she went, that will help you and has equipment and has things in which they can help you feel better about that. The one beauty of macular degeneration is you never go fully blind. But it certainly does change your lifestyle. That's for sure.
It does. And my mother-in-law is still independent. She's living on her own. She's 82 and she loves her home. She likes doing her own thing. And so I went with her to this appointment, to this place that you recommended, and we can put it in the show notes. It's called Vision Rehabilitation Services. And I went with her to the appointment and we walked through. And that's the thing about this age where we are. And this is why having these conversations for women in our 40s and older is so important, because we got to share how we're navigating these things in life. Because
and share that you have something to navigate. I think don't keep these things to yourself. There's no reason to be embarrassed or ashamed at however your body is changing.
Yes. Or in helping your family members, because had you not shared with me this, I wouldn't have been able to help her. And I'm so glad that I went with her, because in addition, she's got some hearing trouble. So I was able to navigate that appointment with her and say, no, that's not what they said. They're asking you this, because sometimes you need to have that extra person there for that layer of communication to make sure that everything's crystal clear.
Yeah. Well, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being a compassionate family member, because not everybody, unfortunately, is a part of a family where somebody would do that and not treat the older family member like a burden. Because there's a reason why you hear people say, well, I don't want to be a burden, because they have seen people being treated as if they were a burden. So good for you for doing that.
No, it made me feel like I was helping her be more independent. And I know that's what I would want when I'm 82 and struggling with some stuff, or I can't drive myself to appointments anymore because she's not really driving other than to the grocery store right by her house. But it was really helpful to be there, walk her through the appointment and say, let's buy this thing that helps you read your books and read your mail and your bills. And this is how you use it. It's like a thing you slide on the desk and it helps magnify, and it's got a light and it's got a tilt, and I could help her get it tilted to the right angle for her. And then there's a thing she can keep in her purse, and therefore she can read menus at a restaurant. Since we're out of COVID and she's vaccinated, she's going back out again, and she should be able to go to the diner with her friends and read the menu if there's something there to help her do it. But she didn't have all these tools yet. So I wanted to tell that story because A, we're all caring for aging parents, and this is this time of life. And B, I wanted to say thank you so much for being such a help in sharing what you went through, sharing your story with your mom, and passing it on. So big thank you to you from me and from Ellie. She said, please tell Melissa I said thank you so much.
Sweet Ellie. Well, you tell her thank you, or you're welcome rather, from me. And just a really quick plug to our Instagram page. If you go to Instagram and go to the Friendzy, if you have not, linked with us there is a Throwback Thursday picture. This is full circle that I posted there, I think it was a few weeks ago, where it was you and your husband and my mom and me. And that was at an art show because my mother was an artist, and it was an art show that was to benefit Vision Rehabilitation Services, because they helped her as well. So it's if you're in the Atlanta area, they're fantastic. If you're not in the Atlanta area, find a place near you, because there is someone to help you.
And I am just thrilled, and they will follow her progress. So now they've got like a baseline on her eyes, and they'll be able to follow and make sure they're giving her additional support as she needs it as she gets older.
And taking and paying attention to that. And also just to reiterate, like, with Ellie and being willing to go and willing to open her mind to new possibilities and tools, like that very thing in her purse. My mom had it, and Mr. Carter, that was his favorite toy at the restaurant. So he was using that light. He was just staring it in his eye and putting it in his mouth when he was a baby, and he thought it was hilarious. But we talk about how women don't ask for things. Women don't, when they're younger, we have to kind of get ourselves into the habit of, I'm worth it, and I can express what I need and what I want, and I can ask for what I need. And so you need to do that younger, so that when you are in your 70s and 80s and 90s and really do need the physical help, that you don't sit in silence and not say anything and let these conditions get worse and worse when there are people who care about you and want to help you.
She got so many new things. I was just thinking about it. She also got sunglasses that are better because they wrap around.
Mom had those, yes.
Block out the light. She also she realized that just over COVID, her glasses and her reading glasses prescription changed. So in 1 year, it changed dramatically, and she needs new glasses. So we're getting her new prescription and all this stuff. So anyway, there's about like 5 or 6 layers of things that will improve her life, and none of that would have happened without you. So thank you.
Well, and we talk about sharing your story, and
That's right.
I shared my story first Jenn shared her story with me because she remembered that art show and what Mom was doing. And so I shared everything that Mom had gone through, and then now Ellie's benefiting from that, and she will share her story with other people, and so on and so forth. So sharing your story has great benefits for everybody in your life. And so it doesn't have to be a physical ailment. It could be anything, but don't forget that what you are going through can serve a purpose for somebody else. So don't be afraid to share whatever it is you're going through. Be vulnerable. It's fine. That's what the best stories come from, being vulnerable. But but today we're going to talk to somebody who gets a little vulnerable with us, but also is very funny. And she's an awesome guest, an actor, comedian, producer, writer, Melissa Peterman. She is a ton of fun. She is best known for her roles as Barbra Jean on the TV show Reba. That strikes the memory like, oh, I know who she is. And then Bonnie Wheeler on Baby Daddy, and currently stars on CBS's Young Sheldon. That's hard to say. Sheldon. I'm just going to rename the show. Tell your brother. Melissa is embracing all her years, and we cannot wait for you to meet her. And without further ado, here's our new friend, Melissa Peterman.
So lovely to be here, ladies.
It'll be like NPR. No offense to our NPR friends, but
I'm just drinking a lovely iced coffee. And I've got a little sugar-free caramel macchiato cream in it. It's all made of chemicals, but it tastes delicious.
See, Melissa, you have a good tone in your voice.
Thank you.
That's right. That's right. Melissa Peterman is here with the Friendzy. We're so excited. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This has already been the most enjoyable 10 minutes of my day. So just a pre-chat.
And we didn't even record it. That's right.
I know.
Yes. Melissa is an actor, producer, comedian, writer in Hollywood. She has starred in so many successful TV series, including Reba, Baby Daddy, Punchline, and currently Young Sheldon on CBS, which is how we connected through my brother, Matt. So we're definitely going to talk about that in a minute. Melissa and her husband have a son, a teenager, right? Named Riley.
Yes, we do. 15.
Yeah.
I think he's in the basement doing some sort of schoolwork. Hope.
You hope.
I've got questions. My son is 6, so I've got so many. Like,
oh yes,
you're my oracle. You're going to tell me about my future.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you your future.
And Melissa is about to turn 50, so she is all about saying her age out loud. We're so excited to have you on the Friendzy today.
I didn't know it would hurt so bad when you said it out loud, though. I mean, I enjoy saying it out loud. I mean, I'm embracing it. Like I'm 50, but it kind of, when other people say it out loud, it's still a little twinge.
Makes you flinch.
I'm kidding. No, I'm good. I'm super glad. I was just saying the other day, every day you get older is a blessing. So let's do it. Bring it on.
Absolutely. It so is. Now, Melissa, we know you as Barbra Jean on Reba, Bonnie Wheeler on Baby Daddy, and Brenda Sparks on Young Sheldon. But today we really want to get to know the real you. So can you tell us a little bit about your history, like where you grew up and how'd you get out to Hollywood?
I was born and raised in Minnesota, Minneapolis, a suburb of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Burnsville, went to Burnsville High. And then, which is I love going back to the Midwest. I still have a place there and love to go back there and bring my teenage son to Minnesota. So he gets his, the motherland is what I call it. And I always sort of loved theater, loved comedy, but was kind of shy and quiet about it. Was a reader, kind of an introvert in a way, but the reality is I think a lot of people who are drawn to comedy are observers in a way too. Like I was always taking it in and reading. And then in high school, I sort of had a great theater, Mr. Mraz, who sort of unleashed the Kraken and let me find my passion on stage, and always loved that. And then went to Mankato State, which is now Minnesota State, which has a great theater program. And even then I was afraid to admit it out loud. I was like, I don't know, even though I was taking every class that a theater major would, I still was sort of afraid to say the words out loud, because it just was admitting I was choosing a career that would be so unstable and full of rejection. And I wasn't sure I was ready to say that out loud. And then finally did. And by the way, Minneapolis, St. Paul is a great theater town. The Guthrie's there, the Children's Theater, the Junloon, like lots of great theater in the Twin Cities. So I was lucky enough to get to do a lot of theater there before I took the plunge and came out to LA, because I just knew that I knew that however my life turned out, that theater or performing would somehow be a part of it, whether it was in community theater, whatever. But I knew if I didn't try to make it in LA, I would be that 50-year-old woman who's like, I could have been something. I had a chance to go to Hollywood and I stayed here. You're welcome. It's a bit early for that. Sorry. I could have been somebody.
Well, and I don't know about Jenn. I know that I was a theater major my freshman year in college, and I realized what a shitty actress I was, and I was better at being myself. So that's why I went into broadcasting. So I admire you for doing what you do.
Well, I'm going to play you in the movie then. So that'll be perfect. But I loved that I figured it out. I guess I didn't figure it out that early, but I knew early on. I just didn't allow early enough, I think. But I found it eventually.
So tell us about that move to Hollywood. Did you go like right out of college when you're 20, like pack up the, Honda Accord and drive out there, or what?
Jen, it was a Toyota Tercel, please. Give me some credit.
Yeah.
Respect.
Give some respect to the Tercel. I graduated and knew that Minneapolis was such a great and rich theater, vibrant town. I knew I should take advantage of that. So after college, I was working at TGI Fridays.
All right.
And I'm a really good waitress, and I still have that backup plan B, people. And I started doing Tony and Tina's Wedding, which is an interactive theater, which was fantastic because I was working with the best improvisers, and you improvise a show every night. And I was pretty young, right out of college, and so it felt to me like going to grad school for funny, just getting to try to keep your game going all night long with these fantastic actors. Like I truly think, no other city's got anything on Minneapolis, St. Paul as far as talent and actors. So that was great. And then I was cast in the movie Fargo while I was, fresh out of college. And that was, again, you do that though, and it doesn't come out for a year. So I do remember that I had done the movie and was still doing Tony and Tina's Wedding, waiting tables, job. And I was waiting tables at Fridays, and somebody came in after a movie and said, didn't I just, because they had seen Pulp Fiction, but the premieres for Fargo, the trailers were airing before Pulp Fiction. And they used my scene, one of the hooker scenes in the trailer, which I didn't know. No one tells you. They're not calling like the Coen brothers were like, get me Peterman on the phone. I'm going to tell her she's in the trailer. So I was waiting tables, and this couple's like, did we just see you in a trailer for a Coen brother movie? And I'm like, yeah. So did you do for salad? Like, I still had a job to do, but yeah, I was very lucky sort of right out of college that I had that great live theater experience with Tony and Tina's Wedding. I think I did over 600 shows with them. And
Wow.
then I did Dudley Riggs' Brave New Workshop, which is basically Second City in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the same sort of thing. You're doing you're writing, 5 shows a year and improvising every night after the show, which was another great for me, coming out to LA, that background was invaluable to me as a person auditioning. And then came out with the Brave New Workshop to do sort of a showcase here in LA at the HBO Workspace. And from that little workspace, I got a little couple nibbles of like, we'd love to meet with you and all that. And I'm like, well, I have to go back to Minnesota. And I did, and got married. And this is timelines all over the place. And I think of an order, but basically I moved out to LA about 26 years old, married, had done some theater in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and saved some money and came out. That's it.
You know, you mentioned earlier about being a comedian and you're an observer, right? And so here you are doing improv, you're writing, you're doing all these things and honing that skill. And then in our society, somehow, even though comedians always seem to be the consciousness, I think, of things that are going on, like you use humor to let everybody from every political background listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
But comedians have always kind of had their finger on that. And then comes like the Jon Stewart, and he becomes the most popular news anchor for a generation, but he's a comedian and he uses humor to tell these stories. So do you find that to be something that you embrace about being a comedian? Or is it something that is, people are overthinking that?
Well, I embrace it. I think that's always been a comedian's job, is like you shine a light on something and you exaggerate it to a point, like satire is in a way. You exaggerate something so far out to make a point, which has become harder and harder as the reality is so insane. Sometimes it's hard to satirize what's really happening. How do I exaggerate what's going on? No, but I always think that comedians are the Greek chorus, or, they're the person that's supposed to sort of comment on what's happening, but do it in a way that does, like, I feel like you can get away with most things comedically if it comes without malice. Like, you're allowed to shine a light on some of the ugliness if your this is ugly. And it takes a really smart, talented person to be able to do that sort of comedy really well. And it sometimes maybe does offend people, but I don't think that. I think that that's okay in a way. If the point is, yes, you should be offended because this is insane. This is bad. But yeah, it's again, I look at somebody like a Jon Stewart, and he did it so brilliantly, where I think he had people from affiliation enjoying what he was doing. That's the gift. Like, that is the gift. And I think that's getting harder and harder, that we have more of that, because funny is funny, no matter where you sit on the political spectrum. Funny is funny. And when it was funny, it should still be funny in 25 years, 50 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It should be.
Mm-hmm.
And as a comedian, you've starred in so many great comedies on television and have had incredible co-stars. And from what I've read about you, you've stayed close friends with a lot of your female co-stars. Can you talk about like the importance of those female friendships in your life?
Well, I force it on them, really. You will
will not be ignored.
I will not be ignored, Reba. Yes, I think that it's funny because Reba and I have talked about that, where, not every time you're in a working situation do you become friends with people. That's the icing on the cake, right? Like, it's a good thing when you like who you work with and it's fun and easy. The great thing is when outside of work you become friends. And I've been lucky enough that on pretty much all of the shows I've been on, I've been able to forge friendships outside of that. And part of it is putting in the work, and connecting. Like, Reba doesn't live in LA anymore. She's here a lot, and I get to see her, and I go to Nashville a lot, but you can still maintain that friendship by staying connected, whether it's a text, where I think we've had a running group text between so many of us that just keeps going, or calling, or I'm going to see her this weekend at something, at an event. And it's just about putting in the time. And here's the deal. Like, if you put in the time and you build a foundation, you don't have to talk every day. Right. Like, your real friends are the ones that they're not going to get mad if you didn't call right back. They're not going to get mad if you didn't answer during the premiere of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. They understand. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Where you're real friends. And I still have friends from college, like my best friends, where I don't have to apologize if a moment where we've all been insulated. And the minute I call you, you pick up from where we left off, and we're secure in the knowledge that I've got your back. Right. And I think as I've gotten older, I've always say it's not about, quantity, it's always quality. You sort of cull the herd, that it sort of wanes, or it culls itself. But I've made it a point to stay in charge. And and Chelsea Kane, who I did Baby Daddy with, who is young, she's young. And why does she want to hang out with me? I'm 50. I said it out loud. And I just adore her. And I talked to her last week. You put in the time and effort to do it. And also I think it's when you have a shared history, at least with the Reba cast, most of us, at least for me, I had my baby during that show. Steve Howie met the mother of his children on that show. Joanna fell in, it was a timeline for all of us in a way that we shared a lot. The Reba cast, Joanna was the first one to see my son in the hospital, and Reba was the second one before my parents got there, so you share stuff that no one else shared with you. And so if you got to just maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's important, by the way. I tell you, women, we need our friends, and we need a partner if you need. I mean, you do, but friends are super important for me anyway.
Well, and it's important to note that, like you said, you evolve with those friendships. You make friends along the way. And I think for a lot of women who are older, it's difficult for them to open themselves up to make friends with new people along the way when they have held on to friendships, maybe from college, maybe from high school, maybe, from a marriage that has fallen apart. So, women do need to open themselves up to new opportunities the older they get, instead of just being rigid in what was in the past.
It's hard though, right? It's hard when we get older to make a new friend, because we are well, that's not why does she put ice in that? Nobody puts ice in that. It's just this weird stuff. Or I find that the older we get, and this maybe is across the board, whether it's a friend or whatever, when you have to travel with people, you think about who you could go on a road trip with or travel with, which I'm thinking of, because I'm maybe put together a girls' weekend for my 50th.
Nice, as you should.
And it's who do you want to spend time? When you travel with people, that's when the real stuff comes out. So I always think, who could you do the Amazing Race with? And a lot of times it's not maybe your best friend, but you could go to a hotel and have, room service with them. It's just, sometimes friends don't fit in every moment of your life either, or in every world. I like it when worlds collide sometimes, when you bring, these are these friends, and these are my childhood friends in college. And I always think it's interesting when the worlds collide a little bit and see how that works. And sometimes it's okay not to have them collide. You can have pockets of friends, different places.
It's like you said,
I have a whole secret friend family that I haven't told anybody about. They're they're in Utah. Out. Hi, Marcy. How you doing?
Well, Melissa and I are old friends, and we met through a work situation. So she and I were both co-hosts on a very popular morning radio show together. And that show has now taken, all kinds of different turns, but she and I have always remained friends. And that's why we wanted to start the Friendzy, because it's out of all of those years, this was the thing that came out of it to me that was the best, was this friendship.
Right.
And, so people, now that we're doing a podcast, say to us we're so glad you're back together again. And we're back together again.
We never left. Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that funny? Because, and the thing is, if you never worked together again, you'd still be friends. And that's the thing too. That part was just one part of what our friendship is. There's a whole other world there. Mm-hmm. But I love that you guys branched off and did other things. Do you guys travel together?
Have we ever traveled together?
I was just trying to think about that. If we
did work trips together.
We did work trips together. And remember, I gave you that brush to blow dry your hair with?
Yes.
Because I saw your horrible brush you were using. And I was like, no, you cannot use that.
I need the help. Melissa, I need the help. Jen helps me.
Melissa, I see you. I remember one of my best friends, George. She's from Minneapolis. She played Tina in Tony and Tina's Wedding. She's a brilliant actress. So funny. She came to visit me once in LA, and she looked at my hair dryer. She goes, how long have you been on a sitcom? And I'm like it's season 3. She's like, you can afford a new hair dryer. I looked at my hair dryer. It was black in the back, from mold and maybe burnt, and long strands of hair that it was now actually sucking in hair and cutting it off. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I just have to hold it far away. And I just looked at you're right. I can't get a new hair dryer.
That's why you need good girlfriends.
You need a friend to go why are you using a towel from your wedding? Why? And it's
exactly. Exactly. Yes.
And I
Good
guarantee you, the next
girlfriends will
time
do
she
that.
comes to visit me, she will say the same thing. Like, your dog's been sleeping on that same old towel for like 15 years.
That's a good friend.
But yeah, you bought a case of wine. I'm like, I know, I've got priorities.
Don't knock the case of wine.
I know.
Exactly right. But no, Jen is that we're that for each other. But I need more of the help. So usually it's the Jen's the one being more vocal. So I accept the
Accept
advice.
it.
Yes.
Accept it. I always say that when people ask me, like, if young people ask me, I'm like, you want friends, you want to surround yourself with people that completely lift you up, but they also tell you the truth. Like they need to love you enough to say, that's not great. That's not a great look on you, or like what you're doing right now, it's not a great thing. And I think that a lot of times friendships can break up when people tell the truth too much. And I think it's okay. And also to understand that in a lifetime of friendships, when I've been lucky enough to have friends for 20 years, 20 plus years, and, and they will disappoint you. I will disappoint them. There will be moments that I will disappoint them. And for real. And I want them to go, like, it's okay. Like if our friendship is worth fighting for, we can get past being disappointed. We're humans. We all disappoint each other sometimes. We forget that this was important to you. And I think that if you don't take that opportunity to say, you know what, I felt bad when you forgot to like call me about this one thing, and just say it in your chest. It's when you don't tell them and you let it fester, then it's your problem now, because you didn't give them the opportunity to let them know that you were disappointed, or that they I want them to tell me if I disappoint them. I'm disappointed right now on this podcast. You're like, I'm disappointed. It's too early. This is literally my first cup of iced coffee.
Because it is, we're on how many hours are we different? So it is funny how it is early for you when we're recording this.
It's
and
not that early. Let's be clear. It's like 10:18. But it's early, like in, quarantine. As far as like, I'm still not, I would literally threw a smoothie downstairs for my son and was like, I hope he's on Zoom school, because we're still hybrid. Like he's still like half.
Minus two.
Yeah. I meant early as, and I haven't like put myself together. Like there was going to be a big difference. Like I really would have.
Tell us about the last year of the pandemic. How have things been for you and your family? Like, what have been the good things to come out of it? What do you never want to go back to?
I feel like everything was really blurry. Like I joke when people like, what day is it? I'm like, it's Blur's Day. It's just Blur's Day. That's right after Wednesday. It's Wednesday, Blur's Day, Thursday. You know what? I think in all honesty, I can't complain. Nobody that in my immediate family got sick. I was lucky enough that we could be at home. So no complaints, but yet it was odd. Like I think in the beginning we felt very much we're all doing this together. And then we all had, even if you were in the same household with somebody, moments really isolated, even in the midst of hunkering down with people, that isolate, at least for me. I also learned that I like to be alone, but when I say that, I mean, I like to be alone without other people in the house. Like that's the one thing that I realized. I love my husband and we still like each other after this. Like he still makes me laugh, which is huge. And I love and I like my son, and I'm sure they'd say the same about me. I found that I had a hard time. Like there's never somebody not here. And that bugged me. Like even when you had, when you had like 15 minutes and you got home early before they were back and you're like, yes. I'm going to eat peanut butter on a saltine and I'm going to watch like Access Hollywood for 5 minutes and like nobody's going to talk to me. Like just those weird moments of just being simply alone, which I have missed, because I think pre-pandemic, I either traveled just enough to have a few of those moments, or was where we all needed moments to just be somebody that wasn't that person that lived his house, whether it was Melissa the performer, Melissa the lady at Target, I don't know. That was hard for me. But I found that speaking of friends, my one thing I was trying to do every week was sending cards, like handwritten cards to friends every week, to just sort of like people in the mail. We don't do that.
Yeah.
And I learned that we don't need to go out as much, but I miss theaters, live stuff like that. I really did. I ate frosting out of a can several times. Um,
Yes. Well,
I
I was thinking the bathroom. That my place that was the bathroom
Was
when
it?
I needed
To hide.
the 5 minutes. Like I'd take my phone in the bathroom and shut the door and just like play a app game or something or watch a video or something just to give me a second to recenter, and then here I'm at again. Right.
Yeah, I think that, but they found it weird when I started just moving, like rolling in the stove in the bathroom. They're like, "This is too." um, it's funny because LA, at least we have good weather, so we could sort of be outside. But I found that I was a little like, I don't even do that. Like I super found myself in moments of just being lethargic for no reason, and usually I have which usually you can pretend to blame it on something, but I think there was just a general sense of like low grade anxiety, and it was all how we dealt with it. And I dealt with it by, I guess, eating frosting out of a can and writing notes to my friends to tell them how much I love them. That's what I did. But at the end of the day, I'm fine. And I think I was so grateful. I think about moms that, and I don't know how many kids you have, but I have a teenager who I didn't have to micromanage. Like I didn't have to log him on Zoom and make sure. I think about any parent that had a kindergarten, second grader, first grader, trying to get them. Melissa, how did you do it?
That was me.
Trying to work.
Well,
I mean, that's impossible. And teachers and
yeah. Well, for
tell me how you
me,
did it.
I think for me, it's all in what you focus on. So to me, to be with my kindergartner at home and do kindergarten was this bright spot in a terrible situation.
Wow.
Because the lessons in kindergarten are of inclusion. They are of, love everybody, love yourself, let's be happy, and you're learning your ABCs and learning your 1, 2, 3s in math and science. And it just, I was like, we take that stuff for granted. Watching him learn just the fundamental things in these happy, fun songs that normally would probably have gotten on my nerves. But like, I found that they teared me up during the pandemic because it was like, oh, no, I just happy fun. I want to be out with, like it was,
I get it.
It was very cathartic for me to do that. So I'm actually, a little sad about it coming to that part of it coming to an end, but I know that's a good sign that things are going back to normal. So it's a good thing,
I could just, I just picture you, Melissa, just the wheels on the bus go.
They sure do.
And you're like, they do. They go round and round, and it doesn't matter if the bus driver, she's just trying to get somewhere, and we're all just trying to get somewhere, and we all need to take care of each other and get on the bus and listen. And I mean, I definitely had some of those moments too, where you're just like watching anything and just crying for no reason, which is fine.
Oh, yeah.
I found that since you had the bathroom, I would drive places. Like my husband would truly say, like, "So it took you 6 hours to go to the post office?" Like, yeah. And I took a detour, like where I would get an iced tea and I just drive around and be like, boop, just because it was alone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. I think that we need that alone time to process everything that women are often multitaskers, right? You're parenting, you're friending, you're familying, and you're working. And we need that alone time just to crunch it all. I feel like it's like our little computers have to have that alone time to crunch the numbers.
You say it better than I do, because I think that when I think about my alone time, it's usually like emptying my brain of just everything and like eating caramel. But I'm really crunching stuff. I'm crunching. I'm processing.
Yes,
I'm processing. I'm not singing Prince songs and eating caramel in my car. I'm processing, people. This is called processing.
Well, I want to go and talk about how you and Jenn are connected. And I'm curious how that you talk about working from home. Like it's one thing to work from home if you have a accounting job or you're a lawyer or you're a broadcaster, but when you're an actor on a top rated show, how does that work? So explain, Jenn, if you want to, how you guys are connected. Because I think a lot of people don't realize that Jenn's related to somebody that they watch every week.
Yeah. So my brother, Matt Hobby, stars with Melissa on Young Sheldon. So he plays Pastor Jeff on the show.
He doesn't just play him. He embodies him. He is so good. I mean, he's such a great, talented actor, but Pastor Jeff, I just love him so much. And I finally got one. Well, we had a couple scenes, but we got to do a fast walk together. And it was just my favorite thing. I'm sorry, I interrupt you. I just love him. He's so good. He's so
I'm
talented.
so glad. I'm so excited. Well, yeah. And that's when we launched the Friendzy podcast. And I was telling my brother about it. And he's like, you have to book Melissa. She's amazing. And we were just talking on set. So that's how the whole connection happened. But tell us about working on Young Sheldon during the pandemic. You guys had to get tested like crazy. Like, how'd you make it happen?
Well, I have to first off give it up to the entire production team and the COVID, the healthcare work, everyone. They had it down. I mean, the great thing about production is they're used to, well, we can create a high school in the middle of a soundstage. Like they can make things happen quickly, and they can do that when they have the parameters. And so the learning curve I felt was actually pretty short on as far as production was. Like they had it set up where we had drive-through testing. So I felt safer, frankly, working on a set than I did going to a grocery store.
Wow.
I felt very protected. They were because there's 100, and as Matt would say, it's not the 8 people or how many watching a TV show. There's like 150 people. So they have to keep them all safe. And so I felt very safe. I thought they handled it so wonderfully, and frankly felt safer in production working, because I felt I've been tested 5 times and I've done nothing but drive to the post office in my car. So I know I'm safe. I forget where I was, but they just really made sure that everyone did feel safe, and that and frankly, everyone was so grateful to be back at work that nobody, I don't think, was taking unnecessary risks. Like, you didn't want to be the guy that's like, well, I decided I got a Groupon for a party bus, so I went on it this weekend. And, so everyone, I think, was very respectful about trying to, even though you can't always control it, right? Like you can't, sometimes it happens, but I loved it. And for me, just getting, outside of the house and being there, I was so excited and grateful. But I do remember my first scene back after having a long period of, just being at home. I remember doing the scene and thinking, why does my voice sound so weird? Am I talking normal? Like I felt very rusty. But the good news is that set is such a welcoming and wonderful, warm place to be that, I was like, is this how Brenda talks? Like, I couldn't remember how things happen. So for me, it was a respite. It was so lovely to be there with those people, the cast and crew. So I was grateful every time Brenda got to come and play and get me out of this house. So it was great.
It's such a great show. I'm obsessed.
Such a great show.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your brother tells you that, like, you get these scripts, and, a lot of times if you're on a 4-camera show, like, things, obviously that is a different world in a way, but jokes change, things change so quickly after every network run through that way. But this is a single camera. But these scripts show up the first time you read through, they are so beautiful. They're perfect. Like, there's rarely, like, page 1 rewrite that wasn't great. It's so wonderful, and they're so precise in their comedy. You can have like a 1 page of dialogue to do, and it's like layers of this character or these people. Like, it reveals it, whether it's revealing it in a joke or just a subtle thing. And I think what the show does so beautifully is it balances humor with humanity so well. Like, things are very heartfelt and a little bit heartbreaking sometimes, but then it's also just really funny, and it's got a great cast.
Well, and it goes back to, comedy being able to do that and shining the light on things and helping people handle things that they normally wouldn't want to talk about or handle or that kind of thing. And something else too, that is, Jenn and I talked about this off air a little bit, where I'm the one that is the first skeptic of spinoffs or repeats, like, or regurgitating a movie or a television show. I'm the first one to come out and say, oh God, they're going to, trying to squeeze blood from a turnip. But it goes back to the writing. So it doesn't matter what you do. The storytelling is what's important. And it's obvious on this show that they understand the storytelling is the key to success, regardless of what this may have been a spinoff from. And,
right.
and I think that a lot of people who try to do other things unsuccessfly don't understand exactly what you just said, which is the writers care about what they're doing.
And they care about these characters. And because it is speaking about a character that was already beloved from Big Bang, like Sheldon, like, you can tell in that writing too, which is so wonderful, that they care about these characters, flaws and all these things. And I love watching they still get excited when an episode airs. Like I'm very, very grateful that I get to be a part of that show. I really do.
What about working with the kids on set? I always think about shows that have kid stars and what that life is like for them.
Well, they're all for me, because I've been on a couple shows where kids, like Reba, we had kids, and then Baby Daddy, obviously we had little babies, which we went through, I think, 4 sets of twins in that run of that show. And then now on Young Sheldon, I think it's all about the parents. Like you look at how the life is for them. It's how their parents are. And what's so great about Young Sheldon is that Reagan's their parents are good. They're raising great kids who make them feel safe and secure, and that they also feel loved, and that the show isn't all their life. And I think that is why these kids are great kids. And Ian is so smart. Like if you don't know a line, he probably knows yours. And Reagan, I find her, and I just think and her name on the show is Missy, and my nickname, I don't know, Melissa, did people call you Missy still?
I only allowed them to do it once, but yes,
once,
I'm aware of
ever?
it. I'm not a Missy. I'm not Missy.
I'm still a Missy back in Minnesota. Like I'm still a Missy. I'm still a Missy of a select few. So maybe I have like a secret little special warm spot for the character named Missy. But Reagan, I just find her to be such a funny, like instinctive comedy, like comic, like her character. I just love it. She's a little tough, and the kids are great. I love having scenes with them, and I love having scenes with all of them, really. I mean, the scene with Annie, though, the whole time with Annie Potts is like, oh my gosh, designing women, Ghostbusters, everything pretty amazing. I love you so much.
I know, right?
And I was trying so hard because I think my first episode was with Zoe and Annie, and it's got such a great reputation. The show doesn't, as a guest, you're just a guest at that moment, so you're not walking in, knowing everybody. So I'm like, just do your job, Melissa. Job. Don't screw it up. Don't try to smell Annie's hair. Just get through it. And
cut a little piece off it for later.
Just for locket, Annie. Just for a little locket. I just
who are you gonna call, Annie? Who are you gonna call?
Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters. And then Zoe, who is so like, her mom, she looks so much like, there's moments where you see that Laurie Metcalf just shine through. They're both so brilliantly funny. And Zoe is like, so I was inside a tornado of nerves, and they made me feel very safe. And so it went well. I was like, okay, I think that went well. I think they'll have me back. But then I can get the hair for the locket because they asked me back. But I really was so nervous because they're such great actors. At the end of that's where it all started. They're just good actors, really good actors. And when you got good actors with great writing, it's you can go anywhere, really.
And you're like, I got to show up and bring it.
That's what I felt. I'm like, this is a Chuck Lorre. I think he owns half of this town. Like, and he's known for doing really great shows. Like, it's a great thing to say that you're on one of those shows. So I was, it's a little, you're like, Melissa, shower. Okay. Brush your teeth. Just show up.
There's a couple things you said during that I think is important, like exactly what you just said, which is what we said about the writing, that when the quality is there, whether it's the acting, the writing, there's going to be success. So if anybody who wants to be an actor is listening or watching us, I mean, know your craft, right? Just know your craft and don't worry about the stardom. It'll come if you do what you're supposed to do. And then the other thing is if there are parents who want child actors in the family, you enjoy working with children whose parents are raising them in a normal way.
I said this when we were, I was doing a pilot for CMT called Working Class. It lasted like one season. It was so much fun. I loved it. And I got to work with Ed Asner and Patrick Fabian, but we were casting kids. And I said to them, I want to sit in the lobby because I got to be a little bit involved in the casting on that one. And I always sat in the lobby when they brought the kids in. And so and they didn't know who I was at that moment, sort of just sit there and watch how the parents were with those kids before an audition. Cause I was like, that's who you're really working with when they're littler, really working with the parents in a way. And I mean, you're looking for a kid who's got great instincts and wants to be there and is an actor, but at the end of the day, the person you're the most is that parent. So you kind of wanted to see who they are for a second. So I want to see that person that, if you see that parent going, now you get in there and you better get it. And he's like, I want to go to soccer. You're like, yep, nope, nah. Let them, they shouldn't be here. So I found that very interesting because it really does. You want parents, you just, well, in any situation I guess you want good parents, but it takes a special kind of parenting to handle this business, I think.
Well, Melissa, because the Friendzy is changing the conversation around age, I have to ask you, is Hollywood as ageist as it seems? From the outside, it is.
I mean, I don't know. The thing is, here's the deal. I've never felt that my looks, is my voice weird now? I'm super weird.
You're good.
Sound great.
Okay.
No, you're great.
I guess because I think I've always sort of banked on myself being funny and that doesn't age. Like funny's funny. So yes, I think if people were like, I'm only hired for my looks, which has never been the thing for me, it would be a harder pill to swallow in a way. But I've always just relied on, I feel like funny will work. Funny will always work no matter what. But yeah, I feel like I joke about it that I think it was the Amy Schumer sketch about that at 50 we turn invisible. You definitely have that feeling of not, and I don't even think it matters if you're in Hollywood or not. I think that there's a lot of times you feel like, oh, when you walk into a party or whatever, are you the guy, are you the one that everyone's like, who's that lady? Who's that lady? And now they're sort of like, ma'am, the book club's down the hall, ma'am.
Well, it's funny you bring up Amy Schumer because I just today watched a clip of her, and it was, and pardon, this is going to be, a bad word, but the unfuckable table.
Oh yeah,
and it was, it was Tina Fey, and it was and
it was Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and yes,
and the medium. The actress.
I gotta go see this.
It's hilarious, and they're all meeting because it was someone's birthday, and they're like,
well, Julia Louis-Dreyfus was now unfuckable. Yes, and and Amy Schumer was walking or jogging and came across them, and so they had to explain to her
we're 50
that
now.
we're 50 and we're unfuckable according to the world and according to media. So we're celebrating that. So
yeah, that might be the sketch I meant, but it's sort of like that thing of like, oh, it's invisible. But I have to say that for all that, when you talk about age, I think ageism is all over. I think we have a problem in this country we celebrate youth in a way that is a little bit bizarre to me, when it's like, you can't even drive a stick shift. Why am I giving you all the credit? Like I feel like there is a wisdom. There is something great about having lived a while. And I think we do sort of, we worship this youth thing a lot, where it's like, why they need to live a little. Like I'm not discounting, like I love learning new things. I think you can learn stuff from the young, like, how to unlock my phone, but and how to do TikTok. But I just think that we do have a thing with like, what's the freshest and newest face, the new it thing. And I think, but I have hope that it's changing. I shouldn't say that blanketly that it is, because I think I look at Jean Smart on Hacks, who's, or even just, she's one of those women that I sort of like I love her career. I think she's and she's right now giving it an amazing turn in a hilarious show called Hacks, but she's also on Mayor of Easttown doing something just a little bit darker. Like there's a lot of women that are over 40 even, which is, by the way, that maybe is where you just slowly start to disappear. But I think there's a lot. I think it's changing, and I think it's changing because more women are in charge, and are directing and writing, which we still need more of. I think that we don't have enough of that. But to everyone's credit, I've never been told by a producer or a director or anyone that Melissa. And by the way, I've been all over the place. I've been fake pregnant on camera, real pregnant on camera. I've been overweight, probably a little like obsessively like too thin. I've been all over the place. And I will say that to that credit, I've never been told I needed to change what I looked like by a producer. I really haven't. And so I think there's a luxury in sort of going, I've worked despite what I looked like in a way, and And I don't say that because I think, oh, I think I'm beautiful. I think I'm all those things, but I've not relied on that. That's not what defines a job for me.
Well,
You know?
and I mean, and to flip it, so you have in men, you have the character actors and the lead actor. I mean, they have a name for, and they do it for female actors too. But
Yeah.
you know that the Brad Pitts and whoever, you know, this first comes to mind, but whoever the hot guy is going to be that's what he's being hired for because he worked out and he looks good. Where a character actor who, in my view, has always been the more respected actor is the one who is hired because of their talent, regardless of what they look like. They'll look like whatever the character needs them to look like. And so at least in the, it seems to me, from my perspective, in the male culture in Hollywood, there is that line, and nobody is better than anybody else. And there's the action actor and there's this actor. Where for women, it seems like, are we still trying to make every single actress have to feel that they have to be, visible?
Well, but by the
Like
way,
Amy Schumer.
which by the way, that's unfair to like the actors that are Brad Pitt, because it's like he's a good actor too. Like, it's unfair on both sides. Like don't just say that the pretty guy can't be a funny guy.
Exactly.
Or
True.
the funny guy's only funny because he's got a gut or whatever. Like, it's unfair on both sides to put people in boxes, but we like to do that because it's comfortable. And I will say that when, in my like 20s and like 30s and stuff, sometimes they didn't know what to do with me because I didn't quite fit in either box. It's like, I could do the blonde bombshell and like, it was this and that and that. And like, but she's funny too. And she's willing to be like crazy. And they couldn't quite figure out, because it usually was, when you cast the funny one, she's got to have a reason that she looks, there used to be a lot of that where like, she's got a, she's short and like round, or she's got this. And so a lot of times they didn't know what to do. And so I think that's changing too. Like, you look at these young comedians, these ladies that are outside of the box of what we used to have, like what female funny was. And wasn't it during Bridesmaids when it was like Entertainment Weekly put like women are funny or something like that on the head, like, oh, just now? Oh,
yeah,
right,
it just happened.
Extra.
Yeah.
I think it's changing, and I think part of it is changing because we're talking about it, and that's important. And I think that women, and also, by the way, we need to be easier on each other. Like,
yes,
in all honesty, at least for me, I can remember women have hurt my feelings more sometimes because we're harder on each other a lot. Or we do sometimes.
Yeah, agreed. Well, and I think also when you talk about women being funny, we're hopefully changing the conversation about men who, I have male friends who, like with Bridesmaids, since you brought it up, it's I don't get it. And I said, and that's okay. It doesn't mean it's not funny. So it's almost like I had to educate some men to say, it's okay for it not to be funny to you and it still be considered funny. So I'm fascinated by that too, how if it doesn't apply to men, then it doesn't apply.
Then it shouldn't exist.
Right. Right.
Why are we making that? Like, why do we keep making these like female razors? I don't use that. I mean, what's this like bra thing? We don't even need these. Yeah. I've been lucky.
Do you have any advice for women in their 40s and 50s about embracing their age? If somebody's felt like, oh, I can't tell anybody how old I am, or, oh, I have to pretend like I'm younger. What would your advice be about just being exactly where you are?
Well, I think it's a lot about who you're surrounding yourself with too. Like, that's always helpful. Like, it's easy to be yourself and embrace it when you've got your good tribe around you. That makes it easier. I will say that here's the other thing. Admit that what you're about. By the way, I love getting a good facial. I love taking care of the things I can. But is that everything? No. So it's like, embrace some of those things. Take care of your body and anything you can. And I say that as I'm drinking coffee with fake cream in it. These are just chemicals. But, I think it's okay to sometimes admit that there are things we're all a little vain, right? It's okay. And it's okay to pamper that and take care of that little beast too, and do what you can to feel good, whether it is outward or inward, what you can do to feel good. And also, I said this earlier, but I do mean it. Like we all know as you get older, and this is, I don't mean to sound like a downer, but as we get older, we're getting to the age where some people don't get to get this age. Some people don't get to be 30 or 40 or 50 or 6, like, and it doesn't, and it could be for many different reasons. So I think how lucky I get to turn 50. I get to, and not everyone gets to, so it's lucky. And also, and like Reba always, she says it better, and I won't quote it right, but there is a luxury to getting older where like you don't have to care about a lot of stuff. Some stuff, like, I don't care. I don't want to do that. I don't want to hang out with you. I don't want to do that. I don't care. And guess what? As I get older, I can say that more often. So embrace it. As we get older, there's so many things you can let go of. And I hope that women embrace that. Like I'm excited to turn 50 because I'm now going to, I'm going to bring I'm going to bring candy into a movie theater and go, I'm 50. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I can't help it. I'm now bargain hunting. Like, I mean, I think I simply cannot pay that much for Skittles when I know down the street they're a third of the price, and I'm 50, and that's the law now. When you're 50, you simply can't overpay for candy. Like I think it's okay to like just embrace those things and to look forward to them, and also it's okay to admit those moments that you're afraid of it. And if you're afraid of turning a certain age, talk about it too. Like, I mean, will I be able to talk like this way when I'm 60, or will I be like, oh gosh, I'm 60?
Well, it shouldn't be different. And it's funny when you say that. Like a friend and I, she was not embracing 50. We had we'd had a girls' weekend. She had a great time. One of my gifts, which she gave back, was a membership to AARP, because you can join at 50. So she gave
it back to you?
Admittedly, I gave it to her because I knew she was bothered by it. But you know what I did with that application? When I turned 50, I joined. So I keep telling her, guess what? I'm a card carrying member of AARP, and proud of it, because I think it's hilarious that I'm old enough to be a part of that group.
George Clooney was on the cover like not too long ago. So I mean,
serious.
It's fine.
Yes,
I mean, by the way,
it's awesome. The memory, it is far better than I expected it to be. So I love it. It's fun.
I mean, when I did Baby Daddy, Bonnie Wheeler was a grandma, because I had Danny, or whatever. I got pregnant in high school. My character did, and so people are like, you want to like play a grandma? I'm like, yes. I want to play grandma, because then when I come in like for interviews, it's like, I can't believe you're playing a grandma. You just look amazing. I'm like, if I was telling people like, so they hired me to be the lifeguard, they'd be like, but it's, I feel like I want to change my IMDb to like, she's 75, why?
Why not?
I mean, I can't believe she's doing all of her own stunts. And by stunts, I mean, she's like walking, she's getting up from the table, which that is happening. That's one thing I don't enjoy about getting older, is that like, oh, so that's new. My knee clicks now when I go upstairs. I call it my Fitbit though, because it's like click, 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 click.
Yeah, I have a little catch in my hip if I sit too long, and I'm like, okay, that's what 50 feels like.
Yeah,
but that's all right. I keep walking.
I have an app for Joanne Fabrics on my phone now. Like I'm, and this is all the truth. So I'm embracing it. I'm completely embracing it.
Yes.
And I secretly have always wanted to eat dinner at 5:30 and be lying down by 8. So this is
why not?
Perfect.
I mean, the path is heading that way, honey, and you're going to love it.
That way.
Okay, Melissa, we do this thing called the Friendzy 5, where we just ask you quick 5 rapid fire questions. Okay. No pressure. Here we go.
Oh, gosh.
Number 1, where is your cozy happy place?
My bed. My bed.
Number 2, what's your favorite framed thing in your home?
It's a Fargo poster, and it's only my favorite because it's one that they never like used, and my friend found it for me because it actually had hooker number 1 and 2 in this poster that was never used, and he's went to a lot of trouble to get it, and so I love that he did that for me. So
that's so sweet.
And it was my first job.
Oh, that's so awesome. Number 3, what's your most memorable birthday?
Oh gosh, I think my 40th was pretty memorable. I was with Miss Reeves, and we were on a trip And I believe I did do that thing of I had some cocktails. I'm like, I can't believe I'm 40. I mean, what have I accomplished? Like it was, and she was such a good friend. Speaking of good friends, I think she let me, talk it out, and then it was great. But yeah, I was on a trip. It was great. It was really, really fun.
Number 4, what's a daily routine or ritual that you stick to?
Wearing pants. People, I've learned that lesson. Daily routine. Drinking 1 glass of water before I drink a coffee every morning. I try to do that. 1 whole glass.
Oh, good for you, right?
Can't you tell?
I need to do this. I need to follow Melissa Peterman and drink the one
That's one of my favorite ever. Yeah. Okay. You look so great. I've been drinking a lot of water. Okay, go on.
Last one, number 5. What fashion trend did you jump on?
Any era?
Any era.
Yeah.
A spiral perm.
Really?
Do you remember that? Anyone?
Yes.
And it never worked, but I wanted it so desperately.
Because it looked like it would be beautiful, but
And it wasn't on me, Melissa. It wasn't on me. Not at all. Oh, and remember when everyone was wearing like the pashminas, like the poncho stuff? I enjoyed that so much because it was like it was like a tablecloth. Like I just
a cape.
It was a cape. It was great. I love that.
Those are fantastic. Both I had not thought of in years. So, okay, tell us what's coming up for you. I know you've got a Food Network project. You're hosting live events again at the Hollywood Bowl, right? You've got some big things coming up in addition to Young Sheldon on CBS.
Yes, I'm super excited. Well, season 4 on Young Sheldon, and I'm very excited. Hopefully, Brenda will be back in season 5. August 21st, I'm hosting the Sound of Music sing-along at the Hollywood Bowl, and which I'm one of the things I really did miss when we missed it last year. It's such a special night, and I'm super excited about it coming back. And this on May 22nd, Saturday, Valerie Bertinelli, Nicole Sullivan, and we have a Food Network special airing at 12 noon, and it's called Valerie's Hot Dish. And I haven't even seen it yet, but we're friends in real life, and we're like, why can't we do a show that shows what we're like when we're not on camera, which is food and funny. So it's called Valerie's Hot Dish. It'll air on Food Network, and we got Duff Goldman stops by, Fortune Feimster is there, Cedric Yarbrough, John Cryer. We have little cameos, and we just had a blast, and we hope people like it so we can make some more.
Oh, fun.
So fun. I cannot wait to see it. So awesome. Well, friends, we want you to follow Melissa Peterman on Instagram. And anything else you want to tell our Friendzy fam?
That I had so much fun, and I hope I get invited back.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding?
Love that.
I can't wait to hear about your 50th trip, because you're going to take a trip, right?
I hope so. It's sort of up in the air right now because it's getting everyone's schedules. At this point, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I just get to go to the Holiday Inn by myself. I don't know. I'm trying to make it work. It may not work exactly right now in this time, but I will be doing a trip with my sister and my girlfriends because we all need our friendsies for sure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
This is going to be the year of revenge girlfriend trips. Right?
Yes.
Like they're calling it revenge travel this summer, but I'm like, no, it's not just travel like with your family. Like I've been with my family. I want my revenge girlfriend trips.
Yes. Right. That is one thing. Yeah. And I know Reba misses that too, because that's, when you've traveled a lot, but yes, I want that revenge girlfriend trip. Like I'm going to go have so much fun and you're going to like it. I'm going to drink the crap out of this margarita. Oh yeah, I'm full, but I'm still eating.
Yes, I'm so there. I want to come on your girlfriend trip.
Yes, don't you stop massaging me. You keep rubbing.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. You're awesome.
Guys, thank you so much.
And now Jenn has this week's mirror mantra.
I will show up for my girlfriends. That's what you're going to say in the mirror this week, because it's not going to be about you. It's about them. Okay. One of your friends needs you this week. And whichever friend just popped into your mind, that is the one that you should reach out to today. Okay. Just send her a quick text, make that phone call, leave her a voicemail. She might be seeming like she's got it all together and everything's fine, but she still needs you. We need each other as girlfriends. And that's your mirror mantra for this week. I will show up for my girlfriends.
I love that because every one of us, you had somebody that popped in your mind, right?
Right.
Yes, I love that. And be active in doing so. I will do it. I will commit to doing that today. So, is there a friend of yours who would enjoy this episode? Please share this with her because our brand new YouTube is also live with videos and extended interviews. So, they have options. Okay. If you like this show and share about it on your social media, tag us and we can see it and we can share it as well. So, there's all kinds of things that you can do. We're making it easy for you to get this content.
And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the Friendzy podcast and leave us a review. Those reviews really help us out and help more people discover. And you can also sign up for our weekly email and we'll send the episode right into your inbox. We promise not to bug you. We just send one with the new show. You can sign up at thefriendzy.com. We also add some pretty cool links into our newsletter to dive deeper on some of the things we've talked about during the show.
Yeah. And thanks to listeners who have subscribed to our email list at thefriendzy.com. Their names, Danielle Hudson, Becky Pendley, and Amber Harris. They don't know we're going to do that. We just see you and we want to thank you.
The Friendzy is hosted and produced by Melissa Carter and yours truly. I'm Jenn Hobby.
Sound editing by Bo Johnson.
Original soundtrack produced by Tammy Hurt for Placement Music, written and recorded by Placement Music creative team member Mark Daniels.
These are real stories connecting real women. Now it's time to go share yours. Thank you for the gift of your time because we absolutely, positively appreciate you.
Until next week, trust your gut.
Share your story and stop lying about your age. Yay, us. We suck. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.